Alright, this is going to be my video on my technique for buffing. This is what we're going to start with. This is an old Robbins & Myers blade. Fairly dingy. You see I've buffed one of the wings already. I'm going to show you how I accomplished that. Now first off, what I'll do is I'll hit the blades with a aerosol paint stripper. Let it sit. Oh, maybe half an hour or so. Scrub it with a light vinyl bristle brush. Make sure you get all the gook and nasty off of it, especially if you have an Emerson blade that were painted gold from the factory. So you need to get that factory layer of gold paint off of them. And then what I'll do is I'll take said blade, bring it to my buffer, and use my tight cotton spiral woven wheel. And then I'll use this white rouge, which this is just stuff from Lowe's, Task Force number 4 rouge. I've got a heavier cut rouge in my box. It's a number 3, and I'll use it with that wheel, which Caswell Plating calls that a sisal wheel. Basically what it looks like is hemp rope woven between 2 layers of cotton. That's a pretty stout wheel. I think that was more or less meant for raw brass, to polish raw brass, the initial step. I've tried to use it on fan blades, and usually it ends up leaving a bunch of fine scratches in them. So we'll be starting with this wheel with the number 4 rouge, then moving to my loose cotton wheel, which is just like, as they say, loose cotton, and a number 5 brown rouge. See it right here. And number 5 and the loose cotton wheel just for basically a final buff. And then after that, what I'll do is I'll take some Mother's Magnet aluminum polish, like that, and hand buff the blade. That gets the little spots you couldn't get with the buffing setup. But I'm going to demonstrate that right now. Let's see if I can find a spot to set the camera. Alright, that looks about good. Alright. First thing you want to do is find a good heavy set of leather gloves, because these blades get hot when you buff them. Extremely hot. I bought these leather mechanics gloves at Lowe's. They're a little thin, a little thinner than I like, but they provide good touch and feel of the blade. What I'll do is take a firm grip of the blade, keep your buff on, take your rouge stick, hit your wheel a little bit, just a couple of seconds worth, that's all you need. You hold your blade real firm. It's better to keep the blade held, have the blade bend, and stall the buffer, rather than have the blade shoot across the shop and possibly damage something else and damage the blade even worse. Now I'm noticing it's not cutting so well anymore. That's what I've got so far. I'm going to hit it again with the rouge. Just a little bit. You don't want to overdo it with that, because you'll end up hurting yourself more than helping. Take a firm grip on the blade. Just a pretty good amount of pressure on the wheel. Not a whole bunch. Not enough to bog it down, but enough to do some work. And you want to be very leery of these edges of this blade, because if you get them in the wrong position, it'll take this blade and fling it like that forward. That's not good. That'll bend the blade, possibly hurt yourself. There's been guys in the AFCA that have cut their hands wide open trying to polish brass cages and stuff that have just, the cage got out of their hands. This is dangerous work, and you need to take it seriously, but it can be fun and pretty rewarding once you get done with it. That's why you keep a good firm hold on the blade. Luckily, I didn't damage it, just a slight bend in it. We've got a pretty good finish on our blade. All the tarnish seems to be gone, so I'm going to go to my loose cotton wheel, my larger wheel, give it a little of the high gloss rouge, which that wheel, honestly, it makes a mess when you're trying to buff it. With that wheel, you don't need a whole lot, just enough to give it that high gloss. Now, I'm just going to do one wing since this is just a demonstration. Take out my camera here. And what we've got here that I just dropped on the floor is a pretty well polished blade. Just a few minutes work. It's still got some residue on it, but that'll be taken off when I hit it with the Mother's Magnet aluminum polish, which I'm going to assume most people know how to do that. What I do is I use these blue shop rags for just about everything in my shop. I'll take one clean rag, I'll wipe a bunch of the Mothers on the blade after it's cooled off. After it's cooled off, I'll wipe it on the blade in circular motion, rub it in pretty good, and then just let it sit. Let it sit till it dries up like a wax. Then I come back with another clean napkin and buff it. Buff it with my hand real hard. And that'll usually give me the high gloss without all the residue, and it'll take some of these finer scratches out that you probably see in the brass. But anyways, that's my fairly amateur technique to buffing blades. The whole buffing setup cost me right at $60. I got the grinder, it's an old grinder, got it at a flea market for $30. The extensions and wheels at Caswell were 30 some odd dollars, 30 something and change with shipping. And then the rouges, the sticks of rouge, cost me I think $3 or $4 a piece, and the gloves were $10 or $15, I can't remember. But that's all I had to spend to be able to buff. I'm not gonna say like a professional, but pretty good. It's not the best in the world, but it's a lot better than doing it with my hand or doing it with that old washing machine motor you see sitting down there with the buffing wheel on it, which I've been using that for the last 8-9 years. So I'm very happy to have my new buffing set up, and I've learned some techniques, and I'm sure I'll get better. I'm not quite ready to tackle a cage yet. I'm hoping soon I'll be confident enough to tackle one of my cages, but I just really don't want to wrap it around around the buffer and destroy it. and I'll hopefully give you all an update video on when I learn how to do cages without destroying them.